Hey everyone, welcome to FernyTalk. My name is Fernando, or you can call me Ferny. I'm your resident psychic medium, and this show is about anything paranormal, spiritual, and anything else I feel like talking about. So on today's show, our topic of the day is going to be about Ouija boards, but before we get into that, I am going to bring on a special guest in a few moments. I want to introduce you to my sister, and so let me see, and I bring in a picture here so you can see who she is. So this is my sister here. So this is a picture of us. We went to dinner with my mom. It was my sister's birthday, and so we took her out. We took my mom and my sister out for dinner. It was a lot of fun. I had tons of fun. We caught up with some family members. But yeah, so it's great to have her on as a guest. I know last week we had Ingrid on, and a few weeks ago we went to the Lavaca County Jail to do a video. If you haven't seen it, please go over to my Facebook or my YouTube channel, and I do have the video available there so you can watch it. But let me bring my sister on. So without further ado, here is my sister, and actually let me do this way. Here we go. So that's the topic of the day as we like position ourselves here. All right, so there we go. This is my sister.
Hi.
All right. So what are we talking about? What are we doing? Okay, yes. Okay. So the topic of the day is Ouija boards. But before we get into that, what did you do for Halloween?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to yeah, I know, right? I was like, okay, let me turn off the lights. Let me maybe I should collect the pumpkins in the front because I didn't feel like dealing with trick-or-treaters this year. And so I was like, I don't know. But then one of the first years when we moved into this house, I was like, I'm going to have the best candy giving giveaway or whatever. So I had music in the front, and I also had Michael Myers music going on in the background, and I was sitting out there, and I was in a Dr. Seuss Cat in the Hat outfit.
I think I remember.
Yeah,
that.
I think so too.
I was helping you with candy.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were here. You were helping me with candy, and I didn't get any trick-or-treaters. I got 2 people. I think I said something to this one kid. Do you remember what I said to this one kid? This one kid came up. He's like, "Oh, I was giving out. I don't know what I was giving out." And he's like, he made some weird comment. It's like 1 candy or whatever, and I was like, "Yeah, kid, you're gonna have to work for the rest." This is just a weird conversations with kids, right? But it was a lot of fun, and ever since then, I just decided never to do it again because we don't really get trick-or-treaters since we're in the hood. So, but I mean, that may be changing because we're in an up and coming area. It's been up and coming for 10 years. So who knows what will happen next year, right? Okay, so let's talk about Ouija boards because that's what you want to know about, right? Ouija boards. And some of you, hopefully not a lot of you, but some of you may have tried to mess with a Ouija board yesterday because it was Halloween. First of all, Ouija boards are a bad idea, especially if you don't know what the hell you're dealing with. Yeah. And so, yeah, they're a bad idea.
Very bad.
Yeah. So I think that if you're going to use a Ouija board, you should know what you're doing. I mean, if I used a Ouija board, I'd probably be just fine. But if you're an amateur and you've never dealt with anything paranormal, if you've never dealt with anything above and beyond, then you should definitely not mess with a Ouija board. And there's really good reasons why you should not mess with Ouija boards. And so the most commonly known Ouija board is the one from Parker Brothers. If you guys haven't seen one, you go to a kid's store, which I don't know why they would be selling these in a kid's store, but you can probably get one for $15-20. And the premise of the board is to simply mess with the little thingamajigger. And you're supposed to ask questions. And from those questions, you're supposed to be able to get answers from spirits or from ghosts or whatnot. The problem with this is that when you do that, when you play with the Ouija board, you are essentially opening the door to all kinds of shit. You're opening the door to all kinds of activity, you're inviting people in. It's like if I opened the front door and I said, hey, anybody who wants to come in, you're welcome to come in. That's essentially what you're doing when you're playing with the Ouija board. You're opening it up to whomever would like to come in and affect whatever the board is doing. And you're probably going to get more negative energy than positive energy because a lot of people, when they're doing it, they have a lot of fear and they're all on edge because they think that something's going to happen. So the expectation and the buildup of fear and anxiety, that is all drawing in like a magnet. It's drawing in a lot of negativity. So you're probably going to get some really crappy spirit people who are going to come in, just like regular people, they're crappy people. You'll get spirit people coming in and they'll want to mess with you. This one here had an experience with a Ouija board back in the day against my better wishes. So tell them what happened.
So just to point out, this happened a very long time ago. It's literally been a decade, or more than a decade
That's
now.
More than a decade.
I was in high school, and I was with a friend, and it was something that we picked up. It was like Toys R Us or something. And we took
was it?
Yeah.
I thought you made it.
No, it was one of those.
I thought you made it. Yeah, people in the hood.
I forgot what it's called.
Yeah.
Toys or something like that.
Well, people in the hood, they make their own Ouija boards out of like cardboard and like marker. So
my friend had one.
Yeah.
So my friend and I decided to go to the cemetery. We didn't think anything of it. It's made from what you said.
Yeah.
So like we didn't think nothing of it. We went to the cemetery and we were just like messing around with it, moving around the little things, saying, "Ooh, someone's here.
Yeah.
Communicate with us." Nothing happened while we were there.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. The thing did not move on its own. If anything, my friend was trying to scare me and was moving it himself, but nothing happened.
Yeah. So after that, she started to have some interesting experiences and some interesting. You hear sounds in the house. That's the cats. They're running around and they're like, "Oh, we want to play. We want to play." And so if you hear the sounds, that's what it is. And by the way, guys, later on, I'm going to be doing some readings. So if you have a psychic question, please ask it in the comments section below. We're not doing any mediumship questions today, only psychic questions. So if you have a question about your life or anything specifically you want to know about your life, go ahead and ask that now. And then I'll get to it at some point later on in the broadcast. And if you want to know something, if you want to ask me a spiritual based question, then go ahead and do that as well. Mediumship questions, this is not really the best platform. It's a much better connection to be able to do that whenever you have someone on the phone or video to video or face to face. So that's a better way to be able to connect as far as mediumship is concerned. So let's go back to the story that my sister was talking about. And so, so you were playing with the Ouija board. Nothing happened, right? Nothing occurred.
Nothing.
So then what started to happen after you played with the Ouija board?
So I don't remember the time frame exactly of how long it took for weird things to start happening. But I remember I was in my bedroom one night and I heard a subtle knock, nothing serious. And I was like, okay, didn't think nothing of it. But then after sitting there for a few minutes, I heard the knock. And then it was almost as if somebody kicked the wall. And so when that happened, I was like, oh my God. I remember running out, like looking for you. And so that happened.
I'm going to save her.
That happened over a series of, a couple of weeks. It was the knocking against the wall, and it was repetitive, and it was loud. And eventually I was fed up with it, so I decided to switch rooms with Mom, which was across from me. She was across from me.
I remember, we're on the 3rd floor, so it's not like there's neighbors. I mean, even though we were in an apartment complex, we're in the 3rd floor. And so if you hear a knock on the wall, there's nobody on the other side. It's literally like dead air for 2 floors, and we were on the 3rd floor, so
I switched rooms with my mother, and of course the knocking followed me into that room. And across the other side of the wall was the restroom, but nobody was in there. So the knocks kept continuing, and then it shifted, and it was to the point to where things were falling on me while I was asleep. At some point, I remember I was asleep one night, and I had a shelf, and there was one of the old school phones, like the cord phones,
the regular phones,
Oh
yeah, that was back in the day.
So, that was like on the second top shelf. There's no way it was gonna fall or anything, and I was asleep one night, and I woke up to it ringing in my ear. Not ringing, but like when you leave the phone off the hook, it goes beep 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 beep, like really loud. That's what it was doing. That's what I woke up to. And another instance I remember was when a window pole started sliding against the wall, and I heard it. I was kind of asleep, but I heard it, and it went plunk and just hit me on my head. After that, I was like, I cannot deal with this anymore. It's too much.
So, and then you ended up dealing with this for years, because after that, for years, she went on and she would have these bouts of anger and rage. And what I say to people is, and that's the Instapot, we just made some beans, right? So Mexicans and their beans, right? So, she had bouts of rage, and she was being affected by spirit energy, because essentially she opened up the door, and a ghost essentially saw her and said, "Oh, look, she's pretty. Let me mess with her." And they attached themselves to her, and they stayed attached to her for years. And it took a while for us to be able to like clear that energy away. We actually had to do a cleansing of her apartment because she was having experiences in the apartment again. So it was like a lot of activity that was going on, and she just had enough. She'd gotten fed up at that point. But it was just like, it's crazy. You had craziness for years. And so if you're ever going to like mess with the Ouija board, like you should really know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing and this is like a first time type thing, don't do it. Don't do it because you're asking for it at that point. And she was asking for it. And she got it. She got it real good. So, yeah. And sometimes, and like I find this happens a lot with people when we have a experience and we've never had that kind of experience before. And it's kind of like paranormal. Like people want to jump to a huge conclusion. I think people watch way too many shows, way too many programs. And so everything you watch on television, it dolls it up and it makes it sound or seem like it's this really crazy, like, oh, it's this like tremendous haunting, or we're being possessed by all these spirits, and it's usually never that intense. It's never that crazy. In my sister's case, it wasn't like she was being haunted by this demon who was like terrorizing her. It was just probably this jerk of a guy who followed her around and messed with her, and he probably got a kick out of messing with her, and he fed in on the energy of her anger and her rage, and so he was always trying to find reasons or ways to like anger her so that he could feed off of that. And so that's what was happening in that situation. And so with when they watch shows, they like always like see that, and it's overly dramatized, it's overly hyped. And this morning I had a client reach out to me, and she sent me some pictures, and her daughter came downstairs, and she was crying and screaming, and then showed her mother a screenshot of her phone. And her mother saw it and it was screaming and crying. And so she's like messaging me. She's emailing me because they don't respond to text messages. She was emailing me because I don't want people like, oh, I'm going to text message Ferny. He's going to respond. No, I'm not. So she emailed me and she asked me, like, what is this? How do I get this out of my house? We're being haunted and all this other stuff. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, girl, that's a filter on her Snapchat. Like, that's a filter. That's a filter on her phone. You need to look at her phone because she's got a filter. And so she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, that's a filter. It's not a ghost. Like, you need to, like, calm down. Chill out. And so they took a look at it and sure it was. It was her phone's filter with there was, like, a spirit or whatever because it was Halloween, right? And so people were like, they were like, oh, my God. So people are easy to run and jump to a conclusion. Earlier, before I was setting up for this broadcast, and by the way, today we had, like, phenomenal, like, problems with the broadcast because last week I used a program called Be Live. Today I wanted to use ECAM, which is another program because the video is so much better and it just looks better. But the one that I was going to use for this would allow me to show like comments and stuff. I couldn't do that right now because this is the other version of it. So it was just, we had like a meltdown. And my sister, she lives like 2 blocks away, and I was just going to like connect with her, and we were going to be like face chatting on the internet. That was a total fail. She's in IT, and her systems, her computer, her phone, none of that would work right. And I was like, you need to like spend the money on the computer, So anyways, so we had a complete meltdown with our systems today. But as I was like trying to set everything up, my door, my bedroom door, it started to close by itself. And it just started to close, but it was like, not just like that. It was like, and I was like, it caught my eye because I'm like, my partner's in the back room. The cats are over here. Like, who's that? Yeah. And so, well, this just happened right now. And so it partially closed. And so then it stopped. And then it slammed shut. And I was like, and I'm looking there. And my partner walks out. And he's looking. And he's like looking at me. And I'm looking at him. And I'm like, what just happened? Like, what just happened? Because this is a pretty, like, cleansed environment, so there should be nothing here. And I'm looking around and I'm looking at both of my cats. I've got Mama Cat over here, I've got NDR over here, and those are usually the culprits. And I'm like, okay, where's Chanel? And so we both get up and we walk over to the door and we open it up, and Chanel's right behind it, just standing there. So she must have been playing with the back of my the back of my what is it when you wear? You're cold in the morning. You put it on. What is it? What is that called? No, not a cobija. It's that thing that you put on. What is it? You know, the with the hands and sleeves. No,
a snuggie.
No, not a snuggie. Okay. Oh God, what is it called? It's not an apron. It's not a jacket. What is it called? I always wear it all the time.
Onesie?
No, not a onesie. Anyways, my thing was hanging. I'm going to remember this when we're done with this damn broadcast. But I was hanging on the back of the door, and so the little strings that you used to tie it in the middle, she must have been playing with it and closed the door, and she played with it twice. So that's what happened. So here we are freaking out like, oh my God, you know, we're like haunted. We've got like ghosts in the house, and no, it's just a pinche cats. So that's what it was. So yeah, so if you feel as if you have opened the door in your life to spirits and ghosts that you do not want in your environment, then you can cleanse them. You can clear out your space. One of the most important things you should definitely do first is you should light some sage and smudge the hell out of your home, because that will begin the process of clearing out old energy. You should do that anyways. Like, you should smudge your house like probably twice a year, just because your home accumulates your own energy. If you're like sitting there and you're venting, or you're angry, you're upset, or you're pining away at something, then what's happening is you're expressing all your energy and it's building up in that environment. And so if you really want to have a clear environment energetically, then you should smudge it once or twice a year, because that clears away the energy. Now, if you think you've got a haunting, or you've got a ghost there, smudging may not completely get rid of the issue, but it'll lighten up the energy enough so that it may make it inviting or unenticing for the ghost who's attached to that energy of that environment. So smudging is a great way. You can watch tons of smudging videos on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and type in smudging or sage ritual, and then that'll come up and you learn how to do it. My favorite way of smudging, and I use California desert sage or New Mexico desert sage, but I start with the front door, and what I do is I simply like put on my favorite music, the music that made me feel like, you know, like, yeah, and I put that on, and then I walk around and I smudge and smudge and smudge. And so when I smudge, it starts to, and I do it in a clockwise direction. Everybody has their own method. This is the method that has worked for me. So I will smudge in a clockwise direction, then I go to the next room, then I go to the next room, then I go to the next room. So I do that right after cleaning day. For Hispanics, it's usually on Sunday. But, you know, after cleaning day, I feel everything's clean. I start my smudging process. As I'm smudging, I'm dancing. I feel good. And I fill the space with love and light. I fill it with like positive energy, and that infuses the environment. And if you do that week after week after week, even just clearing out the space and creating an environment of positivity, you'll start to attract and create more of that in your environment. So that's what I would suggest, and that may make it lighter and may cause the space to be less enticing for a spirit or a ghost to want to like stick around. But another thing that you need to do is you need to take back your own power. In her case, she needed to take back her own power. She was going through a process of like reclaiming her power and being strong and feeling like you were finding who you were. You were like trying to figure yourself out. And that's what was part of the problem, is she didn't know who she was. And so she's walking around like, who am I? And then she's getting mad, you know, and that energy just feeds the spirit or the ghost. So that was happening as well. So those are two great things that you can do, is owning the space and smudging, to hopefully shift away. And not, you can just talk to these people and say, look, you know what, guys, I'm sick and tired of your shit. Y'all need to get the hell out of my house, because I'm done with y'all. Y'all need to get the hell down the road. And just like tell them to get out of your space, because sometimes you just need to talk to somebody, and then that may be enough of a push for them to get out of your environment or get out of your space. So, all right, guys. So that is what I would suggest as far as dealing with Ouija boards. Don't play with them. If you do play with them, you're asking for it. And if you start to have experiences, don't freak out. You might have just attracted a ghost, and clear it out with like a smudging ceremony and intend for positivity in your space. So, you ready for some questions? You're going to help me with my questions?
I don't know if I'll be
okay,
helpful.
so this is what you do. So normally I can click a button and it shows up on the screen. Again, however, this program that I'm using today, which is ECAM, they are in a beta version, so they've got another version of the program. And I was testing that out, but it was not working properly right before I went on live. So I was like, okay, let's go with the old version, which is great, but you can't see what I'm seeing. So, but there's all these comments here that I want to highlight. So we're going to go through this and we're going to find some good questions. So I love now, people, I am not a mind reader, and I'm not going to do a 45-minute reading for you here. So please do not ask me a general question like, Ferny, what do you see? Like, oh, okay, like, let me, what do I see? Like, if someone books a regular appointment with me, I go over the 4 areas in the person's life, like your health and wellness, finances, career, and work and relationship. And I spend time going through that in detail. That is not what I'm doing here today. I'm going to answer a question if you guys have a question. So please ask a specific question regarding any circumstance or situation you want me to address. I'm not going to get to all of you, but I am going to try to find some of the good questions that I feel I can help you guys with. And hopefully I can answer your questions. Let's see. Okay, so here's one. Here's one by Tracy Van Nostrand, I believe. Yeah. Okay, great. So I got Tracy here. What is the question? I have a question. Am I going to find a flexible job that pays, not volunteer stuff, that will work for the family? Flexible volunteer job. So here's the thing. I get the feeling that you are going to have 2 attempts at this, so you're going to make 2 attempts at this. The first attempt, I feel, is going to be something based online. I think that that might come up within the 2-month period where you look into something that's based online, and then you might even have to, which is weird, you might have to like pay a price to get certified to be able to do it. I think that's a first attempt. I don't actually think you're going to go in that direction. And I would kind of, you'd be like, what? I have to pay money for this? But for some things, you do have to pay some money to get certified in something. That's the first attempt. The second attempt, I think, is going to come up next May or June. It's right after everybody's out of school, or right after like kids are getting out of school. So it's right around May or June of next year. I also feel that it is going to have something to do with a school. So interestingly enough, so I think there's some school tie-in that is going to be linked up there. I also feel that the hours are going to work really well for you. So it's going to be like part days, or it's going to be like part-time work. It's not going to be full-time, but it's something connected with a school or with an education organization. So that comes up around next year, maybe May or June, that you may know of. But I feel like this year, there may be something you try at the end of the year, but I don't really feel that's the direction you're going to head in. So let's go over to another question. Which one? Chris's question. So, do you see me moving to a different city? If you want, you can control this. You can go ahead. Like, do you know how to use a Mac? Do you know how to use a Mac? Okay, it's not a 1 finger; it's a 2 finger. Okay, so just go up and then you come up to the question you want me to answer.
It says I'm used to touch screens.
I don't have a touch screen. Oh, okay. So Chris's question is: do you see me moving to a different city? I know. I don't see you moving to a city right now. There may be an opportunity that comes up in January or February. I don't really see that happening, or they may be delayed or pushed back. If you move to a different city, I'm getting the feeling that you may not move until late 2018. So if you move, it may not be till the end of next year. You might try early next year, around January, February. I don't see that happening. It gets delayed or pushed back, or you just like drop it. And then I think you'll revisit that back again in December of 2018. And then I think you'll start moving in that direction. I do feel... It's weird because I don't feel like you're a Florida personality, but I am seeing like Florida features. So there may be a Florida-like place, features like a beach or something like that, that you end up moving to because you have opportunity. It's weird. I almost see you living with a friend or rooming with a friend. It's almost like a joint living situation that may come up. But I don't see you. But see, that's the thing. You don't seem like a Florida personality to me. I feel like, if you were going to move, I'd see you moving to like Oregon or like Colorado. So that's where I would see you moving. But I'm seeing Florida-like features, which is weird because that's not what I think is part of your personality, and I don't think you would even want to move to a beach. But I am seeing those kinds of features. So the end of next year, 2018. All right, so next question. You gonna find one for me? Okay. Okay. Okay, so go to another question. Okay, so let's see.
You pick one.
Let's see. Just want to know which way to focus towards. Okay, so let's go to Marchene, and she's got a question. Just want to know which way to focus my life towards. I'm just a little lost on what's my next move. Help me, Ferny, please. Okay, so first of all, I think you already know what your next move is. I just think you're afraid of taking that step in that direction. I think that there's something that you either started the process of back in the day, or maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, you may have started or looked into something, and you may have even gotten excited about it, and then you just dropped it, like you didn't even proceed or move forward with it. This kind of feels like a personal, like, business, maybe even like a private business or a personal business or some sort of a venture. But I feel that it seems like such a huge undertaking that I didn't think you wanted to go through all that process and put all the energy into it. So I think that would be a great direction for you to head in. I think you would ultimately be happy at doing that. I also feel like you can't really work for people. I think that you work better alone or in charge. I don't think you work best under others, because you're always going to feel oppressed and you're always going to feel like you're being controlled. But you are the person who's supposed to be in control. So if you go into any work situation, you need to go into work situations where you can delegate or you can control the process. But like I said, about 4 or 5 years ago, I feel that there was something that you looked into or considered getting into, and you didn't, and you held back. And it may require more training, certification, or education. But like I said, that's why you probably decided not to, because you were afraid of putting all that energy into it and then failing. Don't have that fear. You need to put the energy into it, because nothing in life is worth having if you don't take the risk. And like my job, my work, I had to take a risk and it paid off, but I worked and busted my ass. So if you will put all the energy into it and bust your ass, I think you can get somewhere with it. 4 or 5 years ago, think back, because there's something there that I think you thought about and then you got away from. Do not worry about being in partnerships or trying to do anything in a partnership. That I don't think is going to work for you either. Okay, so let's go through. Bathrobe. Yes, Steven, it was my bathrobe. That scared the hell out of you? Yeah.
Well, you said something with ours. I was like,
oh, no, my bathrobe. Thank you, Steven, my bathrobe. See, this is why I love my people, because they pay attention. They know. So, okay, here's Brenda. What do you see in the future for my oldest brother? It depends on the topic, Brenda. You want me to focus on you want me to focus on career, on health, on finances, on relationship? You need to be more specific, sweetheart. But I mean, it's a good question. I will, you know what? I'll focus on health, because I'm kind of wanting to go there anyways. I do think that he needs to be careful with his back, because I do feel that there's some heaviness there with his back that I'm kind of feeling. So there may be some issues there going on there. Actually, I almost realized that one side of his back, the muscles are pulling versus in a weird way versus the other side of the back. There's this weird pulling sensation that is happening there with his back. So he probably needs to go see a chiropractic doctor. I also feel that he might have an inflammation issue within the lymphatic system or the lymph nodes, because I keep seeing swelling in the lymphatic system. But what's weird is I think that he might be causing the inflammation. There's something he's taking into his system, whether it's medication, whether it's drugs, whether it's supplements. There's something he's taking into his system that is causing inflammation. So you might notice him being a little more puffy or a little more inflamed looking, especially around the neck. And his immune system might be weird this year for the rest of the year. Part of this, I think, is because of the lymphatic system. His body's having trouble removing or letting go of toxins within his body. So he needs to keep an eye on that, but he also needs to go to a chiropractic doctor, because his back feels weird. It's almost like there's a little bit of an alignment issue, and part of it is almost like it's pulling in one direction versus the other, so it's not evenly distributed weight. Okay, so let's go over to another one. Okay, so here's one from Sherry. I want to know if my husband and I are going to stay together or eventually separate. I think that the issues you guys are having are completely workable, meaning that you could work on them and it could technically improve. However, I feel like you would probably have to do more of the work, because I just don't feel he's as invested in change, because change might mean more for you than it means for him. But I'm not seeing any kind of separation or any kind of split right now. If there is going to be a split or separation, that's more likely, I think, in about 4 years. And that's just because you get to a point at that time where you're ready to take a next step in your life, and you feel like you have to sustain, or you have to make him happy, and he's just not really making it easy for you. So that would be the time frame where I feel there could be a separation, but I feel like you could work on these issues and you could totally hang in there and it may work, but you need to get him on board with taking some of these issues seriously, because I can see you talking to him and telling him what's wrong or what you need or what's happening as far as your discontent, and he's not taking it seriously, or he's not paying attention. And that's a problem, because if he doesn't take you seriously, he's not taking the marriage seriously. If he's not taking the marriage seriously, then he's just there because he's used to it and he's stuck in a pattern, or he's just set in his ways. So that's something he needs to work on. And I think that if maybe you can get him on board with that, then you could totally work on those issues, and then you could both move forward, hopefully in the good direction. All right, so let's go over to Veronica. So, am I in the right relationship? So the thing about it, Veronica, is I feel that you sometimes have very set expectations for what love should be and shouldn't be, or for how things should or should not be in a relationship. And I think that's a problem sometimes because what you expect is not what you're actually getting back. Not only that, but those expectations only exist in your head. When it comes to the relationship, you're making way too many accommodations and you're flexing way too much around the individual that you're with. It doesn't mean it's a bad relationship. It just means that I feel like it's very one-sided, and it's more like you in a relationship with the idea of a relationship versus that person just being the way that they are. So I feel like that person's really not so much in a relationship and you are, but it's like you're in a relationship with the idea of the relationship, but this person's just not really fulfilling their aspect or their part of it. I think this is going to become an issue, and I do see more challenge, especially when we get closer into the holiday season, because I feel that family drama or family issues are going to come up and trigger even more conflict between the two of you. Like I said, it's not a bad connection, but I just don't see this being. I see it being very one-sided, and I think that's a problem. So if you can maybe work on what you expect and what you want in a relationship and get clear on that, and then if you look at the person that you're with and you can take them and accept them for where they are right now, then it could technically work. It's just not going to be what you ultimately want. I still don't think you're going to be satisfied with that end result. So to answer your question, I don't think it's the best fit. It could work, but I don't think it's the best fit. So, all right. So, let's see. So, Lizeth, let's have Lizeth. So, will I find a job this month? I think you're going to have 2 leads. I think you get 2 leads or you have 2 leads. But what's weird is the timing is off, meaning that the options, or like, it's almost like the timing's off. Like it's as if you look into one of them, and either the pay, the timing, whatever doesn't work for you, so that doesn't really, like, you don't go in that direction. The second opportunity, there's a delay, so it might take a while before you even hear back, or before you even are told that they're interested in your application. So I'm not really seeing anything jumping up right now. February is an interesting time for you, though. When I tune into February, I feel like there is something significant that occurs around that time, because I'm seeing a change in your pay. I'm seeing a change in money. So here's the thing. Sometimes whenever someone asks me a yes or no question, I actually avoid answering it with a yes or no, because that's setting myself up for failure, and my ego gets in and starts to have reactions. So my ego and my mind are battling it out. My ego's like, go on, Ferny, answer it. If you're wrong, you're going to fail, and you're going to look like a fool. And my other side is like, okay, Ferny, calm down. It's not that serious. What you need to do is go around the question. So what I'll do is I'll ask myself a workaround, so that way I can ignore answering it as a yes or no, and I can answer the question and give some detail that will hopefully answer the question for us, which is I'm not seeing if you are gonna get a job or not getting a job. I'm just looking to see if you're gonna get any options in front of you, which is why I went there. And then I tuned into your finances for a second, and I looked to see where I saw your finances improving or changing. I did. I saw your finances going up in February, which to me indicates if she ain't got a job right now, she ain't got money, right? So once she gets to February, there's money. Obviously, there must be a job, and that's what my assumption is. So I'm assuming that there is going to be a job in February. So my thing is you'll probably get one in February. And that actually brings me to another topic. Who do you think is going to win the playoffs?
Strauss.
So I don't know anything about baseball. I could care less about baseball.
What do you think?
I think the Astros are going to win. So let me tell you why. Okay, let me tell you why. So a few days ago, this reporter from Channel 11 called. It's a local news station. And he's like, hey, we're doing a series and we're doing a special on the Astros and, what people think who's going to win. And we're doing a segment on psychics in the area and what do they think about who's going to win. Would you be interested in participating? And just give me a call back. And it was too late for me to call back, but I wasn't going to do that anyways, because I'm not about to base the entirety of all of my psychic potential or everything that I am as a psychic on this one question that's going to go nationwide. I'm just setting myself up at that point. Plus, it's way too much pressure. It's I already know I'm putting myself in a zone where I'm having too much pressure. And when it comes to psychic ability, if you're going to be accurate, or if you're even going to get close to having accurate details, you have to be calm and chill and just be okay, this is nothing. Like, I'm okay, I'm cool, I'm not going to worry about it. But if you're like, oh, you know, like, I have to get this right, it's like being in a bathroom and someone's standing behind you and you're trying to pee and someone's saying, you better pee. Like, it's not gonna, nothing's going to come out, right? So that's what happens. And so I didn't do it, but it did get me thinking about the Astros. And I was telling my partner, I was like, well, I think that they're probably going to go up to 7 games. And I think they're going to go to 7 games, and I think that the Astros are probably going to win. So that was my thing. But I don't know anything about baseball, so I don't know how it works. But I knew that there was like the best out of 7. Yeah, best out of 7.
For me,
yeah. So I was thinking, well, I think they're going to go up to 7, and it's going to be real like a nail biter. And then I thought maybe the Astros were going to win. So that's what I thought. So that's my official impression. Please don't hate me if I get it wrong, because psychics get things wrong. So I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm not a psychic, whatever. So anyways, so let's go over to Pamela. Pamela is asking, will I get married next year? Pamela, no. I don't think you're going to get married next year. I think you get close to it. And when I say close, I mean there's conversation or discussion with someone about a proposal or like an engagement in July, because I'm seeing the 4th of July, which is why I'm assuming it's July when this comes up. I don't see marriage next year. I'm kind of getting 2020 as being significant for marriage. So I'm seeing wedding energy in 2020. So I'm thinking that in about two, maybe almost 3, but no, more like 2-ish years, I think that in 2020, you might be getting engaged or maybe getting married during that year. So that's when I think you might be going down the aisle. Laura is feeling really down lately. Will things turn up for me soon? Laura, so a couple of things. First off, I feel like you're sometimes a go-to person for others, and it's like people come to you for support or help, and then they throw up all over you, and then you're left with the mess. And so I think that's happening way too often. You're letting people like pull on you energetically, and you're taking on too much energy from others. That's one. Number 2 is, I think you need to shift your energy and work on you and focus on you so that you can start to see a shift in your life. I've talked about this a few times before. I've mentioned this in my Law of Attraction video. I also mentioned this and how Law of Attraction has changed my life. I'm going to do another video on this because I think this is a very important topic. I mean, I think our lives have like completely transformed when we began practicing Law of Attraction. So I think that you need to work on your energy. And I think you need to shift it over from where you are, which is a state of despair, over to a state of, well, it's okay, I can deal with what's now, and I have some hope, and that's it. So I don't expect you to go from like despair to like, oh my God, life is amazing and blah, blah, blah. I just think you can go from despair over to, I'm okay with what is, I can deal with this, and I have some hope for the future. And I'm just going to try to make the best out of the situation. And if you can go over into that energetic mode, then I think you can see results, and you can start to see things, your energy shifting and moving around. I would highly suggest you watch The Secret DVD. You haven't seen it, get it online, or you can watch it on Netflix. If you don't want to watch The Secret, then you can probably get a book. It's called The Art of Extreme Self-Care by Cheryl Richardson, because you need to learn how to take care of yourself. Make yourself a priority before you focus on other people. If you're not willing to do either of those things, I don't get that anything's going to drastically change right now. I do think there's going to be a break for you around May of next year. So May-ish, actually right after April, maybe going into May, there may be a little bit of a break energetically for you, and I think you'll start to see some improvement in your life. But I feel like this is just this theme that you're stuck in, and I feel like this has been going on for 6 to 8 months now, and I think that you're going to continue to go down this theme, and it's kind of like a cyclical pattern where it's just like over and over and over again more of this. So April, May of next year, I do see a break, but get that video, watch the video, or read The Art of Extreme Self-Care by Cheryl Richardson. That might help you improve things. So, all right, so we're hitting that 40-minute mark. I think I've got one more question. What question, Irene? What question? Annalie. Look, Annalie, I already picked one. You're late. You're late. Okay, so Annalie. Annalie is my dad my spirit guide? I really think so. He passed last June, and I feel like we have conversations every time. I dream of him every night. He even woke me up on my birthday. So Annalie, I don't think your dad is your guide. I do think your dad is talking to you, though. So I do think the conversations you're having, the communication you're having is valid, but I don't think your dad is your guide. Now, something that I want to bring up that I've mentioned before, and I'm going to mention it here, is that your spirit guide, it's such a complicated topic, spirit guides. First of all, there are angels, there are spirit guides, and then there are deceased loved ones or spirits on the other side. Angels and spirit guides are not the same thing. Angels are a pure form of energy. That's all it is. It's not like a person or a personality or someone that speaks. It's just a form of energy. So when you think of an angel, it's pure love, pure light, but we see it as the form of an angel, depending on what religious background you have. So that's what an angel is. A spirit guide is an individual. It's a personality. It's a person who has lived lifetimes before and has decided with you before you came into life, has decided with you to be there as your eyes and ears from the bigger perspective, from the bigger picture, while you're here in life completely confused, who are you, what you're doing here, and what you're supposed to do with your life. So the spirit guide's job is just simply to look at where you are as you go through your life and to kind of push you in a direction that is going to align you with your with your life's plan, with your chart. It's not their job to rescue you from your problems. It's not their job to fix things for you. They do, in certain instances, can intervene, but it's very rare that happens. It has to be an extreme circumstance against the plan that you wrote for yourself. But guides are just there, that little voice in your head that says, "Ooh, you better watch out for her because she's trifling." That is your spirit guide. So your guides are always there trying to help you and influence you through your thoughts, through your emotions, and they're just keeping an eye on your life and the overall picture according to your plan. Your dad is a deceased loved one. He's just a spirit on the other side who is there with you and is continuing to try to act as a guide. And they can do that. We have relatives who can act as guides, but they never really take on the role of a guide. We have a guide that's there from the moment we are born to the moment we die. That person is there for us. That is our main guide. We can take on additional guides depending on circumstances. Like Irene, she's in IT. If she needs some help figuring out some programming code, she might suddenly connect with someone who lived a life as a programmer, and they're like, "Girl, I know your problems. Let me help you with this." So the guide will come in and help her through that time in her life. But usually there's a main guide, and then there'll be secondary guides, or alternates is what I call them. But I do think that your father is communicating with you, and I think that he's just trying to let you know that you are not alone. You don't need to feel alone. You're not alone, and that you're very much being supported and loved. So I think that's what's happening there. All right, guys. Well, I love you all. Thank you so much for participating. I love your questions. Hopefully next week, this whole setup is a lot better because I want to see your questions on the screen and I want you to see them too. But it was a pleasure. Thank my sister for being here and participating in the program. I love you guys, and I will talk to you next week. All right. Bye.
Bye.